Hi, Year 11. I'm going to go through your answers for week 11 of your homework. I apologise if you hear lots of screaming in the background. We've currently got Year 5 and 6 on the playground right next to me, so you might hear the odd scream for a goal. But I'll work my way through these questions with you now. First one, you're asked to write 0.03 as a fraction. Well, that 3 is in the 100th column, so that means that is 3 100ths, so 3 over 100. You're then asked to write 4,578 correct to the nearest hundred. Well, that is in between 4,500 and 4,600, and it's closer to 4,600 because that's 7 tens, that's 78 is what I'm using for my rounding. So 4,600. I'm then asked to change 7 litres into millilitres. Well, I know that 1 litre is 1,000 millilitres, so 7 litres would then be 7,000 millilitres. So my answer there was 7,000. And then I'm asked to convert 1/5 to a percentage. Now, the word percent means per 100. So if I make this a fraction over 100, that will be my percentage. So 1/5 as a fraction over 100, I've multiplied 5 by 20 to get 100, and 1 times 20 is then 20, so my answer was 20%. Okay, question number 5. I'm given a list of numbers. I've got 5, 6, 8, 9, 20 and 24. From the list of numbers, write down a prime number. Now, I know my prime numbers. They are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. I live in Torquay in Devon, so which one of those there is on my list? And it is 5, so 5 was my prime number. My square numbers, well, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25. I can keep going, but I don't think I need to. Which one of those is then square? It's 9. And then I'm asked to write down a multiple of 10. A multiple of 10 means numbers in the 10 times table. Well, it goes 10, 20, 30, and the answer there would then be 20 because that number features in my list. Okay, your next question. You're given the first 4 terms of a sequence. Write down the next term in the sequence. Well, let's first of all work out what's happening. I'm already identifying my numbers are getting smaller, so I'm definitely subtracting something each time. How did 13 become 9? I'm subtracting 4. How did 9 become 5? I'm subtracting 4. How did 5 become 1? I'm subtracting 4. So that means my next number I'd have to subtract 4. So 1 subtract 4 is equal to -3. Explain how you got your answer. I subtracted, or take away, subtracted 4. Work out the 10th term of the sequence. I could either continue subtracting 4 each time until I got my 10th number, or I could find what we know from year 8 is my nth term. I know I'm subtracting 4 each time, so I know it's -4n. How did -4 become my first term? I added 17. So now that I've got my nth term, I can technically find any term, because I can just substitute in -4, lots of 10, add 17, -4, lots of 10, add 17 is equal to -23. So my answer there is -23. You're then asked to simplify 5 times f times g times 3. Well, 5 times 3 is 15, and f times g is just fg. And then here I've got k times k. Well, I know that k times k is k squared, and then timesing that by another k squared. My laws of indices, when I multiply, is that I add my little index number, so that becomes k to the power of 4. You were then asked to expand and simplify, and it's double brackets. So I'm going to start by doing my noughts and crosses grid, is what my class have called them. I've got x subtract 3, and I've got x subtract 6, and I must remind myself that I am always multiplying when I'm doing this. X multiplied by x is x squared, x multiplied by negative 3 is negative 3x, x multiplied by negative 6 is negative 6x, and negative 6 multiplied by negative 3, a negative times by a negative becomes a positive, so it's positive 18. So I've then got x squared, take off 3x, take off 6x plus 18. I'm then going to collect my like terms. My x squared is the only term that I need to put together here. It's the middle part. Negative 3x, take off 6 more x's, is negative 9x. And then that last part, that add 18, goes on at the end. So it's x squared, take off 9x, add 18. I'm then asked to write 7.2 times 10 to the power of negative 4 as an ordinary number. Because it has a negative index, with my 10, I know that my zeros are going to be at the front. Negative 4 means there are 4 zeros, decimal after the first one, and then 7, 2. This one here, I'm going to write it a bit bigger. So it's 620,400. Decimal will have to go here, which makes it 6.204. And I am multiplying that by 10. And my power is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's to the power of 5. And then my last one, I've obviously got some standard form to do a calculation with. I'm going to type it into my calculator. I'm going to pop my fraction in. I'm going to put 8.4 times 10 to the power of 5 on top. Then I'm going to put 2.5 times 10 to the power of 6. And I'm going to multiply that by 3.5 times 10 to the power of negative 8. So you can see my calculator now looks the same as my exam booklet. I'm going to write out that whole answer. 9, 6 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, which then I can obviously work out is 9,600,000. It does say to give your answer in the standard form. So decimal after the first one makes it 9.6. And I'm multiplying that by 10, and my power is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's to the power of 6. And finally, you had then got a graph question. So again, I've got my calculator. On my calculator, I'm going to type in bracket, bracket, squared, add 2, bracket, bracket, subtract 5. I'm just putting brackets where the x's are in my equation. So bracket, bracket, squared, plus 2, lots of my next bracket, take off 5. And I'm going to go back along and I'm going to put a negative 4 in each of my brackets. And that gives me 3. I'm then going to go back and I'm going to change each of them to a negative 3. And that gives me negative 2. And I'm going to change each one to a negative 2. That gives me negative 5. Again, I'm going to change each one to a negative 1. Gives me negative 6. Then I'm going to change each one to 0. Gives me negative 5. Then I'm going to change each one to a 1. Again, a bit of time involved, but it's worth it. You should now see a bit of a pattern looking, so it's going to create that curve. I reckon my next answer then will be a 3, but let's just double check. Pop a 2 in, pop a 2 in. Yeah, it's 3. Great. So I know it's going to create that curve. That gives me 2 marks just in the table. If I then plot those points on my graph, I'd pick up more marks. So when x is negative 4, y is 3. When x is negative 3, y comes down to negative 2. When x is negative 2, y goes down to negative 5. When x is negative 1, y comes down to negative 6. When x is 0, y is negative 5. When x is 1, y is negative 2. And when x is 2, y is 3. So you can see I've got that lovely curve now. Okay, and I'm then going to join up each of those points and create that curve. I've got my turning point, and then I come back up. So there is my answer to question 13. Hopefully you found that useful. Make sure obviously you mark it all off in your books, ready for your submission with your pen, and make sure you write your score on the front page of your homework book. Thanks.